talk, just keep a 30-minute clock for me, okay? Speaking of team members, if you're a patient here and you think that our team, Dr. Francis, Heather and Amanda have been doing a fantastic job, because let me just tell you, behind the scenes, they are busting their butt training with me. If you think they've been doing a fantastic job, which I think they have, give them a round of applause. Another piece of great news that I just got before when I was back there preparing was one of our team members, Amanda's husband, who's been working his butt off for his young family, just got a huge promotion, which is huge. So make sure when you see her, you congratulate her, okay? All right, we're going to give you the outline for the next several talks, because I've already got those topics together. October 14th, it's a Tuesday evening, is our next talk. We're doing balancing hormones for females. Okay, you're going to be natural balancing hormones for females. I did an ergonomics talk last Thursday at the library, and let me tell you, if you haven't been to the Bolingbrook Library, I haven't been there. It was the first time I was there. That thing is incredible. So actually, what I'm working very hard on right now is to be able to start doing our workshops at the Bolingbrook Library, because that place was awesome. I'll let you know. Hopefully we get to be there, and if we do, the rooms are fantastic, the AV equipment, it's all awesome, so we'll let you know on that. October 14th is going to be balancing hormones naturally. November is going to be healthy habits and treats for the holidays. So I'm really trying to twist my wife's arm with 4 kids and being busy to come on in and do a workshop where she can talk about some of the sweets and things that she does that are raw and will actually lower your blood sugar but taste fantastic for the holidays. That'd be pretty good, right? If you see her in the office, twist her arm a little bit. December we're going to do goal setting, because we're coming into a new year, and we always want to set big goals for the following year. And if you don't know how to do that, I'm going to teach you how to do that. When I first got into Bolingbrook in 2005, I set 3-year, 5-year, and 10-year goals, and within 1 year, I'd already hit my 3-year and some of my 5-year goals. So if you don't have goals written down, if you don't know how to set them, we're going to teach you how to do that. So let's get started tonight. How many of you, by a show of hands, how many of you would say that you've had more stress in the last year? Raise your hands. More stress. How many of you would say that stress has been pretty level over the last year? Raise your hands. Okay. How many of you would say that stress has actually decreased for you in the last year? Raise your hand. Okay. In the last year, decreased. Anyone decreased stress in the last year? So, let's get started. If I can show you one quick, simple, hands-down technique right now, and it's going to take just 2 seconds, would you be interested in learning that technique, how to get rid of stress? Yeah. Okay. All right, let me grab something. All right. I need some help. Stephen, come here for a second. Come here. Okay, just for a second. And Stephen is now doing the workshop.
And that's less stress.
Now that is a lot of stress. Thank you, Stephen. I'm just kidding. So the easiest way to do is dump your stress on somebody else.
Good.
So that's the easiest technique. Thank you for help. So this is about the 3rd or 4th workshop I put together in this holistic workshop series. And I've done a lot of talks over the years, and over the last couple months, I really started to say, you know what, I've got a lot of great information to share with my community, with my practice, so I'm going to really start doing some more workshops. And then I asked myself the question, what right do I have to come up in front of people and talk to people, and what right do I have to share my knowledge? And then when I look back, I shared with most of you my health saga, right? I was a seriously sick person, and what I went through to get me here today to believe in what I believe in and have my conviction. So now I'm going to do a stress workshop, and I go, what right do I have to talk about stress? So what I wanted to do is tell you the other half of my story. Okay, I'm going to tell you the other half of my story. What right do I have to talk about stress? So I graduated chiropractic school. I was out here in Chicago from New York, and I was gung-ho to get back to New York. Long Island was the epicenter. Nothing existed outside of New York. As far as I was concerned, when I graduated chiropractic school, Illinois, could fall off the face of the earth, and I didn't care, because I was going back to New York, and I was going to be this ultra-successful chiropractor. And so my wife followed me back, and I opened up shop by renting a room from a chiropractor. And to make a long story short, after 2.5 years, a wife, a child, a wife in practice with me, I was failing. I was failing miserably. I was failing absolutely miserably. I was shopping at secondhand stores for my kids' clothes, my son's clothes. I knew what it was like to fight with my wife every single day over money. I knew what it was like to work 13 to 16 hours a day, trying to help people, and not have enough money to pay rent. I was failing miserably, and we were stressed out, and we were young, and we had no one. We were in New York, but it was estranged from my family at the time, and so we had no help, and we were struggling tremendously. And I can't believe my wife didn't leave me, because I was trying to figure life out and trying to help people and stressed out nonstop. And we made the decision after 2.5 years that being in New York wasn't the right choice. We were now 6 figures in debt, okay, hardly making it, and we needed to move out of New York. We put faith in God, had $186 in my pocket, 6 figures in debt, and we moved out to Illinois in February of 2005. And I start knocking on doors. February. Is it warm in February? I've got a long gray trench coat. I still have it. I was living in Warrenville at the time. I'm not going to get into every detail, but at some point I'll tell you every detail of that story, because God had his way in every detail. I mean, I had no money to pay for a moving truck. That story wound up, I needed $1,800, and next thing I know, because a friend convinced me this and that and the other thing, all of a sudden I won a Super Bowl bet, and I don't gamble. And 3 days later, I realized it, called up the bar and go, hey, that guy took my $20 and bet that. I think I won. They go, you won. We've been waiting for your call. You won $2,000. Long story short, move out, knocking on doors in 2005. I started by renting space again from another chiropractor in town and just banging on doors. I'm Dr. Jeff. I can help you out. Give me an opportunity. I did every talk possible. I did every outside event in Bolingbrook, the Jubilee. I did everything possible and was busting my butt. And guess what? Success started to happen. But I still had a child, still arguing over money, still in debt, but we started to work our way out of it. We were living up in Warrenville at the time. And about 6 months in, the practice that I was building out of another doctor's office was actually really starting to do well. Lots of people were coming to see us, and we were getting results, and it was exciting because we were starting to make it where I'd failed previously. And about 6 months in, the chiropractor looks at me, and his staff look at me and they say, get out. Get out. Because your practice is growing, my team, my staff is having to work more, and they don't want you here anymore, so you need to get out. Get out today. I'm going, get out today? I've got what do we do? Practice? Get out? What am I going to do? Because you're angry at me because I'm successful and you're kind of, get out? What am I supposed to do? So the stress, what do you do? My wife is absolutely crying. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Again, we had some faith. We got provided an interim space. We were there for 5-6 months. We were able to negotiate this, and then we expected to be in here a little bit sooner than later, and then just kept bumping it and bumping it and bumping it. And luckily, we had some fantastic patients who stuck with us in an interim space. And the whole time I was in that interim space, they were building this out. They got done, and then it was about a month and a half where carpet was down, walls were painted, but this place was bare. At the time, Angie was coming down from Warrenville with my son, Christian, coming down at 7 a.m., and coming in here and putting the place together until about 5 p.m., 5:30. And she said, I felt bad. I felt like the worst mom in the world, because if you know us, we're not really fast food people, but she goes, I felt like the worst person in the world because for 5 days straight, I was driving through that Wendy's and getting Christian fast food, and it was the same woman every night. She was looking at me like, what are you doing, you kid? But she was in this place while I was busting my butt in town here. She was in this place at 7 a.m., she was putting the floor together, she had a kid screaming, so we were under quite a bit of stress. And the week we got in this place, it was the greatest week of my life, because within the following month and a half, we actually doubled the practice. We doubled the practice in a month and a half, and it was getting busy in this place, and we were loving every minute of it, because imagine going from being seriously stressed out because your business is failing and you feel like a failure and you've got a wife and a child and you're trying to do everything possible to make it successful and you're failing, and then you come out here and all of a sudden people are starting to believe in you and things are starting to happen. It feels awesome, right? So we'll fast forward over the next couple of years. The practice grew and it grew and it grew And it grew, and it grew, and it grew, and it grew. And those who've been with me for quite a while know that at times this place was seriously busy because we had a big mission, a big purpose, and we were serving thousands of people. There's a challenge with that, though. The challenge was I was starting to become very imbalanced. I was giving more time to the practice, more time to the office, and less time to my family, and less time to myself. And I started to become stressed out over a couple of years. And then it happened. And then it happened. And then I made one bad decision. I made one bad decision. I hired a healthcare reform specialist to come in because I paid attention in 2013. And we had a seriously great practice, busy. I mean, just economically, everything was great. Our refrigerator was full. We were able to just take care of our patients. I made one wrong decision. I hired a healthcare reform specialist who came in and said, well, we've got to make this change, and this change, otherwise there are going to be large fines. And those of you who are around here know that, unfortunately, I made one wrong mistake, and I decided I needed to make these changes. And within 3 months, my practice was a third of the size it was. And most of you don't know this. And it's not easy for me to share this. But at the end of 2013 and beginning of 2014, I almost went out of business. You want to talk about stress? The bills didn't stop coming. The mortgage needed to be paid. I've got 3 kids and I've got one on the way. And I'm looking at a refrigerator that's empty, and now I'm digging into lines of credit. That's quite stressful. And what I realized was that was all, I did that. And we were at rock bottom at one point when Amanda was out on pregnancy leave, and we had Sarah and Dee, and all of a sudden one day they looked at me and said, we quit. And we were at rock bottom when I had 2 staff members quit on me, and it was back to Angie being in the office with me, and that was it. Me and her, if you recall, if you're patient, if you saw us for a month, just me and her at the front desk, it's because we were at rock bottom at that point. That day, we had 8 different people help us out with our kids. I want to talk about stress. We were stressed out to the max. We were here years and years and years ago. And then we were here, life was great. And then we were back here, 10 years later. It made me realize that, you know what, the problem was me. That I needed to handle stress better because I didn't handle stress the first time. And I needed some skills that I didn't have. So again, I tapped into a line of credit and said, you know what, I've got to make myself better, and I've got to learn how to handle stress properly. I've got to learn some techniques to help me out, because you know what, I'll be honest with you, had I kept on the pace that I was on in all those years, I probably would have had a heart attack. I was so intense in the practice and on the practice and about the practice that I was totally imbalanced and totally stressed out. Okay? So I learned some techniques, and I decided I'm not going to go down because God's got a big purpose for me. And I'm not going to go out of business because the difference between success and failure is that thin. And I experienced this side, and I said, you know what? I'm here for a bigger purpose. There's thousands of people that I was able to help, and God's got me here for a bigger purpose. He just needed to make me a better man, and He needed to basically help me learn how to handle stress. So I invested in myself. And I took some classes. Most of you know during the summer I was out on Tuesdays. I've taken some classes. And I want to share with you tonight, the techniques I learned, because I'll be honest with you. We're growing again in great ways, and I appreciate all my existing patients, so thank you. We're growing in great ways. And through it, I've actually been more calm, less stress. I've been able to be present with my wife and kids, and more present here with everyone here. So I want to share with you some techniques tonight to help you literally take it home and use these, because these are the techniques I have been using for the last 6 months of my life. So what I identified was there's several areas that cause stress. I want to identify that for you. How many of you feel that America is the greatest country in the world? Raise your hand. Okay, let me tell you why it's the greatest country in the world. Let me tell you why it causes stress. Because America provides opportunity. and opportunity means choice, and choice can be stress. See, I'll give you an example. I've got a friend of mine who is Italian, who grew up in Italy. I met in 1998 when I was traveling there. Went back to see a couple years ago. Antonio. Antonio's about 42 years old, has a wife and 3 boys like me, and Antonio is an engineer, a high-level engineer. So if you work for a great company as a high-level engineer in this country, what would your range of salary be? What do you think? High-level engineer, great company.
90, 100,
About
125.
So is this East Coast though where he lives?
He lives in Italy.
Italy.
He
Oh,
lives in
okay.
Italy. So, but if you lived in America and you were six figures is a high level,
Right.
right? As
Six
a
figures,
high-level engineer, you're making 6 figures. You go to school, you bust your butt, 6 figures. Well, in Italy, he makes $20,000 a year. Why is that? Because there's no choice. Europe, there's no choice. America, there's choice. What I mean by that is, in Europe and most European countries, you're either born wealthy or you're not. And there is no choice. It's not happening. So I go to visit my buddy who's making $20,000 a year, and he's in his first home. And you know what? His first home was literally probably half my office. 3 boys.